not confident.
No, but you had Fadi, you had a wonderful also colleague here.
Okay.
In any case, we are back.
I think we have everyone here almost. So we're going to start. Hello and welcome to everyone. As always, we really appreciate that you're making time to attend these live sessions and that you still working so hard on the course. Please leave the chat function visible throughout the session. You will be able to ask questions or make comments live by raising your hand and then activating your camera and microphone. We'll use our breakout rooms today. Once we start the group assignment, you'll be able to choose your group and you'll find more information about the group assignment on the chat. And finally, the recording and the PowerPoint presentations will be available to you afterwards on the live session page on the course platform. I will now turn the floor over to Diane. Have a great session.
Thanks a lot, Amaranta. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are very pleased to be here today with you. We have Talia, Fadi, and I to facilitate this session today. So I will start by sharing my screen on today's PowerPoint. Yeah, hold on. We will go through today's session. Share. So, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, I think it's that. Yeah, that's better. So today we are starting a new unit, Unit 3, which will be dealing with implementing arrangements. So tools, we will together look at key specific tools that support the implementation of plans. Namely, we will be reviewing two of them, the result matrix that Talia will be presenting to you today, the fundamentals. And the following week, next week, we will look at how to develop multi-year operation plan. So today we would like, before getting into the nitty-gritty detail, we would like to get a little bit the sense how you have, how did you go through this assignment on the simulation model, how challenging you found it, what was easy, what was less easy, did you find it exciting to manipulate a simulation model and see how it affects, how this helps to set up targets and also fine-tune them. So yeah, let's take some time here for you to provide some feedbacks about major issues, also major comments you would like to do, or also questions if you have pending questions on the use of a simulation model. The floor is yours. No comments? No, nothing to share about this exciting assignment?
Yes.
Yes, please. Who is speaking? I cannot see. Sorry, I don't have the full board. Is George?
Yes. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, everyone. I found Unit 3 very exciting and challenging at the same time, because now you need to look back from where you started with the problem tree and how now you get the problem into a tree, into the objective tree, and now trying to put together that information and then going into the issue of putting the allocation of the finance, which is the financial simulation model. It is very interesting, but at the same time very challenging, because I found that before you get down into the financial simulation model, you need to have a clear background of what you need to do, what your objectives are, and then the activities, and
I think we have lost
then
you, George.
you have to link it in this. Hello, can you now hear me?
Yeah. I think I lost track when you were talking about activities.
Now, yes, attaching the financial implication to the activity, which is very, for me, I found it very interesting, although it required for you to have a firm knowledge of what the picture of the whole of Vindoland and having the percentages and then trying to fit in. For me, I found it very interesting. And I thank you for guiding us through. You're most welcome.
Thanks a lot, George. Indeed, it's important, and that's why before we try to work with you on the priority program to have a clear understanding of what you want to do and how, because ultimately the simulation model is just a reflection, a financial reflection on what you want to do. So it's important to have a clear understanding of indeed the different activities and then to be able to properly portray them in the financial simulation model. Then we have Yaman and then Augustine. Please, Yaman.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much
Yaman.
for your support. Yes, thank you, Lama, also. The exercise was exciting, and I think it was very helpful to modify and reach to our target. But I have a question about we don't have some targets included in, as you highlighted in Excel sheet. This target, we should adjust our priorities and put activity for this target that highlighted in Excel. This is my point. I didn't get it.
Sorry, Yaman, I'm not clear. If you don't have target, you will make them up. The idea is for you to make those targets. Indeed, based on, usually you to set up targets, you usually refer to past evolution. That helps you to understand how you can move forward. And depending on the priorities and the strategies you are in place, you may be more or less ambitious in the next future. So indeed, the targets, it's you to put based on what you think would be feasible for the next 5 years in Vindoland. And that's the whole exercise you have to do. So in the priority program stage, you have put targets that are what we call preliminary. And then you put them in the simulation model to assess the financial cost. So then if you see that it costs too much, you may want to reduce the value of your target. But that's an exercise we will do together tomorrow, and over the weekend you will do. Right now, we wanted you to just put the targets you envision, so the value that you envision the system will achieve in the next 5 years, and look at the financial implication. That was the first exercise for this week. Did I respond to your question? Yaman, is it clear?
Yes. Okay. Clear now. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Augustine and then Priyanti.
Okay. So from our side, just to reflect the impressions from the group work, yes, and thank you for sharing with us these simulation models and this process. I think very interesting and exciting for our side. Also, pointing on the elements mentioned by George is quite also challenging, that taking consideration always everything that you have in your plan, how it's reflected in the simulation, going back to your plan, to your priorities, is this whole picture setting, which is sometimes not easy to track. The experience is we try to make those changes. In terms of the final results, we were some maybe like some loose ties in or some type of questions that, for example, there are some elements in our plan that were not like included or costed or something. So probably there was some adjustments that needs to be made into the simulation. Like, for example, what are the different unit costs for different activities? So just maybe some question on how we can include on work on these side topics or other topics which are not planning in the simulation, and also some questions in terms of the calculations for the availability of funding, the progression of those funding. So understanding that the simulation model has like fixed amounts planned, for example, just an example, just for the Ministry of Finance, and they get included in your simulation and you play with it, or simulation is a tool to use to climb funding for the other ministries or the entities in your country. So this type also of questions on the fundamental or the purpose of the simulation model, but basically as a main principle of costing or activity, and see how far we go with the activities that we plan. I think was a real good experience. But I also let the other members of my team, if they have any comments from our experience.
Yeah, I will respond to you now, and then we have Priyanti, but let me first, so that I don't forget. So regarding, indeed, the simulation model as it is not addressing all your activities. So one of the assignments was for you to pinpoint to us the activities that are missing and you want us to include. It's okay if you have not done it now. We have a lot of room to do it those days, so no worries. The idea is for your priority program to be fully reflected in the simulation model, but not all activities. Again, in a simulation model, we put those activities that are, how do I say, that are providing big spending. You don't put the study, a workshop. The little one will go in the multi-year operational plan. The multi-year operational plan is really teeny-gritty costing. The simulation model has more a macro, big vision about the big aggregate. So for instance, we need to have in the simulation model anything related to cash grants, anything related to school construction, rehab, toilets, for new teacher training, because teacher training, when you have it's a long-term process, it's not one workshop. It has, especially if you want to train teachers, in your case, you have in-service, pre-service, continuous professional development. This will need to be reflected in the simulation model. So we will need to add certain lines, and we will ask Fadi to support us with that, to add the lines. So the idea would be during today's session or later today for you to highlight what you want us to add, okay? And we will do so. Then indeed, the financial model is a very interesting tool for resource mobilization, not only domestic, but also external. So right now in this window loan cases, we have kind of closed the macro framework. Especially window loan is not a very good case, because window loan, actually, if we follow, domestic resources are derived from what? They are derived from your growth rate. They are derived from the share of GDP to, the share of tax to GDP ratio. And they are derived from the share that will, among the budget that will go for education, okay? So there are three levers. Right now, so usually the GDP growth rate is something that you need to discuss with Ministry of Finance and Bureau of Statistics. They're the one providing you with this information. The same, the tax to GDP ratio that will form the budget, right, is the basis for budget formation, is also something that the Ministry of Finance will give you. And then where the Ministry of Education has a chance to levy additional resources from this is from the discussion when you discuss budget, during budget discussion, and having a plan that is costed helps usually the Ministry of Finance, of Education, to discuss and negotiate with the Ministry of Finance for additional resources. Right now, that's what we have called the block of resources in the simulation model, but so far for you, it's a given. We are not negotiating that because we did not want to enter into that additional discussion, because it's already tricky. What we are proposing you is not easy. So we said, okay, We are not going to discuss domestic resource mobilization, but it is a discussion that needs to take place, because also it's important for the Ministry of Finance and with the Ministry of Planning and all the Ministry of Economy to ensure that they levy more resources. You know, we are in countries where tax to GDP ratio is close to 20%. But for instance, in Europe, we are close to 40%. So, you know, there is room for countries to levy additional resources through taxes. Of course, it's through you increase your tax base. So that's something that is needed to be discussed with the Minister of Finance, what they foresee in terms of additional domestic resources. And then it's the Ministry of Education to really negotiate for his envelope when you have those those budget discussions that are conducted on a yearly basis. That's one thing. Then it's also a very powerful tool for external resource mobilization, because now when you have a gap, and we will discuss that this weekend and next week, you can ask, so you have to come up with what we call a kind of sustainable gap, usually maximum 15%. It's the kind of ceiling we put. 10 to 15% is the gap that we assume is doable and sustainable. But you need to explain, and that's also the exercise we will ask you. You need to explain us how you will fit that gap. Okay, so filling the gap, you need to, there are many ways. First, you need to, indeed, you go and discuss with donors. Can you put more on the table? So you see, you have also a very strong, you can make a strong case because you have a plan that helps you understand what you want to achieve, how, and at what cost. So you can really, with this document, go and meet with donors and say, you know, if you want to help us, it is here where you can help us. It is here where we need your support. Another option is also to discuss with the private sector, what we call PPP, public-private partnership. Could be with schools, but could be also with the private sector itself. You know, perhaps you have big companies that could help also support the development of, for instance, TVET. TVET, at the end of the day, is meant for the private sector, right? Or it's meant for the economy. So it's also a very interesting document having an ESP to go and discuss with those guys for them to support the development of the education sector, especially secondary, higher education, and TVET in general. You can also aim for, and that's the whole discussion when we try to also relying on the private sector for education, because sometimes, you know, sometimes it's less expensive to subsidize a child in a private school instead of opening a private a seat in a public schools. So it's also things you can negotiate with the private sector to reduce the cost for the government. And then the last things is for you, and that's the whole discussion we will have together over the next days, is you may want to revert to more cost-effective options. For instance, instead of building a full-fledged school in concrete, in cement, you may say, okay, let's go for semi-permanent schools. They will do the job, and they will be half costly. For instance, you may want also to rely more on ICT. You know, ICT, more email, more soft things might also reduce the cost of printing and distribution. So that's the type of thing you may want to think of. And that's what is about resource mobilization. You see, so it also forces you to think about how to better use your resources. At the end of the day, you want also to improving governance. It's also a way to reduce wastage in resources. For instance, it is very costly to recruit teachers that are not posted where they should be posted, because at the end of the day, they are not where they should. So this is a major waste of resources. Teachers are the first budget cost. Salaries for teachers are the first budget item. So making sure that you also recruit and post teacher where they should is a major cost-saving measure for you, for the government. So the simulation model helps you to also assess, when you don't have a lot of resources, how to make the best use of them. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane.
Okay. Priyanti,
Okay. I also need to tell that it was very interesting, and it was the first time I have learned this. Though I have experience in some planning beforehand in our department, I got to know it. Actually, it is the first time. But I rather think that doing it online prevents us. It is my opinion. I think sometimes my colleagues will uh, agree with me. If we have that entire sheet, or if we have that, so we were dealing with secondary, so if we have that entire sheet with us, and if we can face to face interact with our colleagues and do this exercise, I think it would be more improved one, and it would be, I think, rather it would be more understandable, because
Yeah.
I think sometimes this Excel sheet and everything related to these things actually prevent us, effective output is prevented from us. So we were dealing with more technology, I don't know, but I sometimes feel that if we had to had a face-to-face discussion, this would be more fruitful. But actually we enjoyed, and it was very interesting. I just for the comment, I know that at these circumstances you can't provide us that, but actually I felt that it would be much more interesting than this group work.
Yeah.
And also if we were given some more time, I think we should, because there was a lot to read, and all the window, and there were more cases to examine. So during with our tasks, it was time was sometimes limited. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Priyanti. I think you are making a very good point, and I think we had a lot of discussion whether to do this session online. It was a lot challenge for us, and we understand it's even more challenge for you because you are the one doing it. And we are taking this into consideration. As you know, this is a pilot, and we might need to rethink. Perhaps doing this only online might not be feasible, and we fully agree with you. Working on a simulation model, face-to-face would be ideal. And I think your comments is well taken, and we will need this type of comments in any case from you at the end to make sure that this courses is being, kind of delivered in the best way and the more efficient way for you participants. And it's true that face-to-face will never be replaced by distance. I think we have been too much on distance. And for instance, right now, we also like to go back to face-to-face. But thanks, it's well noted. And we're happy still that you still find it interesting, but do not worry. You still have 2 to 3 weeks to go to fine-tune everything. This week will be very heavy, but do not panic. It's just, and it was for you the first time you had faced a simulation model. You will see by the end, when you will submit the whole plan, I mean the different templates, you will be more comfortable. And do not panic. We are putting a deadline for you to submit, because this is for us to be able to properly monitor your work. It's not for the scoring. The scoring will be done at the end. So do not worry. We will have also all next week to really work together on this, and we don't want you to be left with any issues and questions. You have to leave that course comfortable and confident that you kind of grasp and you kind of dominate the whole exercise. Is there somebody else before we continue? Sorry, I don't see the whole screen. I don't see anyone else, so if you don't mind, I will short it now, and I will ask Talia to step in and present you the result matrix, because we have a long session today. So if you don't mind, we will go with Talia's now. Talia, the floor is yours. Sorry, and for
Wonderful. No, thanks so much, Deanne. That was great. And thank you to all of the colleagues for the very interesting and relevant feedback. It's always great to hear how you're experiencing the course, ways that we can improve it, things that you find challenging. So definitely really interesting to hear. And I'd also just warmly like to welcome you to Unit 3 from my side. We're at the final unit of Module 5, which is very exciting. I'm sure, like me, you feel that it's gone by very quickly. So really glad to have you all here for Unit 3. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just one moment. Oops. Okay. You're able to see the screen correctly?
No, we don't. Do you want me to do it? Perhaps.
Sorry, I'm surprised that you can't. Let me just let me try that again. One moment. Hold on. It had told me it was sharing correctly, but sometimes there are little challenges with tech, as we know. So just one moment. Maybe this is a good moment for me to just remind you that we're going to go through, and this is actually talking about part 2. So we're really going to be speaking about the results matrix today. But if you have not already had an opportunity on the platform to take a look at part 1 of this presentation, I would strongly advise that you do so after this session. So we're jumping into the deep end. This is part 2 of the presentation. So just to let you know, if you're wondering if there are some of the more foundational elements about the MEL framework that you would like to look at, please go ahead and start with presentation 1, which is on the platform. So just one moment.
Yeah, you can put it full screen.
Yep. Is it now? I think it should be.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Works well.
Okay, excellent. So as mentioned, this is part 2 of the presentation and we're jumping right in. Okay, so in this presentation, we will review some of the key elements of the ESP MEL framework that will make up the MEL chapter of the ESP. If you remember, the main elements of the ESP MEL framework are the M&E results matrix, the key performance indicator matrix, and the organizational setup, including the main MEL mechanisms with assigned monitoring responsibilities. So first, we're going to start off by looking at the M&E results matrix. The M&E results matrix consolidates into one single matrix the various outcomes and related outputs of the ESP used to track achievement of the plan's objectives and targets. The framework is aligned with the structure of the ESP's program design that organizes and links together the plan's goals, programs, and activities. More specifically, the M&E results matrix transforms the results chain of an intervention into indicators that measure the degree to which results at various levels are achieved. For each result, it provides a specific indicator along with its baseline, intermediate, and final targets, as well as the source of information, its frequency, and the unit responsible for collecting, analyzing, and reporting. Here is a basic example of an ESP results matrix. Note that there's no standard name for the results matrix. It can be called a results framework or a monitoring matrix, among other names in some ESPs. So if it's not a term that you recognize immediately, you may want to look in your country context and see how it's been referred to in the past. The results matrix may need to be updated as the plan is being implemented and monitored. We'll now take a look together at how to fill in the ESP results matrix using our priority program template. So I think you're really going to see the link between the template that you've been working on in the past week or so and this results matrix. So we're going to go back to the example that we've been using in the past sessions and throughout this course, which was looking at ECE access as an example. So again, the good news is that we really do have most of the information that will be in the results framework already in our program design template. So this should not look new to you. It's something that should be a bit familiar based on our work over the course of the last few weeks and based on your activities that you carried out on your own. So we're going to take a closer look now at filling in the results framework. So starting with the program objective from our program template, this will become our outcome in our results framework. So we write increased equitable access to early childhood education for all in the left-hand side under the box labeled outcome 1.1. We can then directly copy all of the indicators we have selected for our program objective in the results framework next to the outcome, along with the baselines, end-line target, values, and sources of verification. You will notice that the results framework also includes intermediate yearly targets. For each of the indicators, we must identify what the target will be for each year. We must also identify the responsible officer, the unit responsible for collecting, analyzing, and reporting on this indicator. As you can see in the case of indicators collected through EMIS, it would be the EMIS department, and this will differ depending on the activity. So moving on to the first strategy and related activities, your strategies from your program design template will remain the same as the strategies in the results framework. We can therefore write strategy 1.1.1, reduce costs of early childhood education directly in our results framework. The activities, however, must be slightly adapted as outputs by stating them as a result. And again, this is something that should be a little bit familiar to you, as we have sometimes, shifted the way that we refer to different elements, in the problem tree to the objective tree and so on. So we're going to take a look at how we would go about doing that. For example, our activity implement school feeding programs should be rewritten to state the actual output or result that was achieved using the past tense as an action verb. It would therefore be school feeding programs implemented. You must therefore rewrite each of your activities as outputs. For activity 1, foster free public early childhood education through assessing sustainable strategies to reduce or remove school fees, that would be translated into output 1.1.1, study on sustainable strategies to reduce or remove school fees conducted. We can keep the same indicators that we already designated in the priority program design template, copying them into the results template along with the baselines, end-line target values, and source. Once again, we will need to complete the yearly targets for each activity indicator and indicate who will be responsible for collecting the data. You'll continue these steps until you have filled in the entire results framework for your subsector priority program with all of your strategies and activities. So for now, our results framework, in this example at least, is complete. But remember, we may have to update it as we make adjustments to our activities, indicators, and targets. Another important element for proper M&E of the ESP, along with the results framework already discussed, is the matrix of key performance indicators, or KPIs. So we're going to take a closer look at this now. The KPIs are a selection of indicators which reflect the main objectives pursued in the ESP and will be included in the annual performance monitoring of the plan. There will only be a limited number of KPIs for the entire plan, usually not more than 30, although with the expansion of ESP thematic coverage under the Education 2030 agenda, more KPIs may be required. The KPI matrix should help us to gain a quick overview of the achievement of the plan, should give us a comprehensive picture of the education system performance, while at the same time remain focused on the main objectives, should concentrate mainly on the results level goals and program objectives or outcomes at the national level, and should provide information not only on national averages, but also on disparities. There are a few important key points we'd like to highlight that you should keep in mind when selecting your key performance indicators. The KPI matrix should be the KPI matrix should be a relatively small set of indicators covering key plan objectives. Too many indicators may be difficult to interpret and create confusion, deviating from the essentials. They should be easily understandable by decision makers as well as common users. It's best, therefore, to avoid the use of composite indicators or more sophisticated statistical measures. The choice of KPIs should be agreed upon by the different major stakeholders to ensure easy coordination and cooperation during the plan cycle. There should also be a linkage of KPIs with international frameworks, such as the SDGs, which will ease reporting. And indicators used in the simulation model as part of the scenarios are also going to be useful in this case. So here is an example of KPIs from a real case study, or a real country context, in fact, not only a case study, from Cambodia's ESP 2009 to 2013. In relation to the access policy area, they have the percentage of 5-year-old children in all aspects of ECE and the number of districts achieving a primary completion rate of at least 80%. For the quality policy area, they have a number of complete primary schools with repetition rates below 10% and standardized national assessment scores for grades 3, 6, and 9. As you will only be working on one selected subsector of the plan, you will not be developing a KPI matrix yourself, which covers the entire education sector plan. However, we do recommend that you have a clear understanding of the criteria for a KPI, because you may see this type of information pop up on one of the quizzes. So a little hint to take a look in more detail if it remains a little bit unclear to you. So we're going to move ahead with the presentation to the last element, which is about the organizational setup. And here we're going to look at the first main ESP MEL mechanisms and then the organizational structure. So here is a quick look at the typical cycle of the ESP monitoring and evaluation and the main ESP MEL mechanisms. As you can see, first, an annual operational plan and budget is prepared, usually as part of the ESP development. The annual operational plan is a brief work plan based on the M&E results matrix, but more specifically detailing an activity schedule, timing, and units responsible, as well as the budget. Note that you will be developing AOPs for your priority programs next week. An AOP is a precondition for a successful implementation of the plan because it is the base point for routine monitoring after the plan is implemented. This day-to-day monitoring is carried out through structured and regular meetings within the department as needed and at interdepartmental level. There is also need for periodic internal monitoring organized by the Senior or Strategic Monitoring Committee, which we'll discuss on the next slide in this presentation, at regular intervals, oftentimes quarterly. It consists of small standardized written performance reports to be produced by the implementing departments. These reports are then to be examined by the monitoring committee in order to review progress, examine problems, and recommend action to be taken. Okay. The annual review is an annual plan performance report to be prepared by the planning department on the basis of an annual and quarterly program report prepared by implementing departments. The key performance indicators are the main reference point for the annual review. The annual report is examined with stakeholders during an annual review meeting in order to collectively agree on any improvements to be made. The midterm review is carried out halfway through plan implementation, and it's intended for examining more carefully the results obtained and to decide whether there's a need to revise any targets or programs for the second term of the plan. And lastly, the final review and evaluation is the internal final performance report to be completed by special evaluation studies. The intent of the final review meeting with stakeholders is to evaluate the final impact and outcomes, their relevance, cost effectiveness, and sustainability, to analyze the reasons why certain results have been achieved and others have not, and to derive lessons for possible policy revisions and for preparing the next medium-term plan. Now, of course, with so many different MEL tasks carried out throughout the plan cycle, it will be important to have a set organizational structure indicating who is responsible for what. Here is the typical organizational structure for ESP MEL. It consists of 3 levels. So you can see that they've been identified here in yellow, the operational level, the technical level, and the policymaking level. At the operational level, there are departments directly in charge of implementation of specific programs and which prepare the annual operational plans. They ensure periodic monitoring of program implementation through regular supervision mechanisms and preparing different types of reports. The second level is the technical coordination level, which may take the form of a senior or strategic monitoring committee at the ministry top level. Now, such a committee oversees the plan implementation in a comprehensive way, such as by ensuring information exchange and coordination between the different implementing departments and through collective deliberation on the basis of progress reports. The planning department usually acts as the secretariat for the committee. The third layer is the policy level, which is often the responsibility of a joint steering committee, responsible for overseeing plan implementation, oftentimes chaired by the minister. It brings together top-level staff from the Ministry of Education and representatives from other important ministries, as well as representatives from development partners and civil society organizations. The committee serves as the main linking mechanism between the ministry and the education development partners and stakeholders. It is the main task to advise the minister on major policy decisions or directions. Again, the planning department is often invited to act as the secretariat for this particular committee. Okay, so to conclude, the organizational setup is a key element of the ESP MEL framework because it establishes the conditions for successful ESP MEL. In order for ESP MEL to be successful, it is essential to have clearly delineated responsibilities of the various actors. It should be clearly designated prior to plan implementation who is responsible for which specific monitoring and evaluation tasks, such as the different types of reporting and the annual and midterm reports. It's also important to have a well-placed, effective coordination unit with the authority to guide overall monitoring, placed in a position to guide plan implementation, integrated into the government structures, and with the necessary competencies. Okay, so we do hope that this presentation has given you an overview of the results matrix, the KPI matrix, and the organizational setup, as well as, this is as an overview or key tools for properly monitoring and evaluating an education sector plan. And this week you'll be able to try your hand at coming up with some of these elements. So I hope that did provide you with an overview. I'm going to stop the slideshow now, but I do invite you, if you have any questions about the presentation, and again, if you felt like there were elements here that you weren't very clear on, the full presentation, both part 1 and part 2, both are available on the platform. So we do invite you to take a look back if there's anything, any of the key concepts that you think are unclear. But again, you're also welcome to ask your questions now in plenary. So if you do have any questions, please go ahead. The floor is open. And perhaps if this was a lot to take in, just to remind you that many of the elements that you'll be working on, you'll be drawing from what you've already done in your priority program template. So you're certainly not starting from scratch. So hopefully that makes it a little bit less intimidating. Was there someone who wanted to ask a question?
Yes, George.
Just, hello?
We can hear you, George. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think you have made it simpler for us to follow and then understand. I just wanted to make an observation between the relationship between the technical team and the political team. Here in Uganda, we always have a challenge because just like you have mentioned, I think the major responsibility of the technical arm is to advise the minister and then the political side, but also here we have what we call policy making. The politicians are the policy makers. So sometimes the technical groups may have problems because if you have to give guidance or if you have to advise, then you have to do it within what the politicians have thought out. And I want to give you an example because in Diana's presentation, she talked about the teachers. We have issues here with the teachers because, for example, we tried the recruitment process in about 2 years ago, but it is still on. But you see, as the technical side, we thought that having these people come on board as early as possible would help the schools because the teachers are not there. But again, when we come to advise, there is the issue of the politicians. For them, they're saying, for example, now as we talk, they're saying we cannot deploy the teachers because, hello? Can you follow? Can you get me? Hello?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Yes. Now the issue is now we couldn't post the teachers because the politician thought that since it is towards the end of the term and the year, we can keep the teachers and then we post them next year. So I think the issue that you brought up here in the MLE, the issue of the politicians, the minister, and then the technical side, I think there's some bit of challenge here, especially if your advice is not within line with what the politicians are thinking about or what they want to do. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, at one point, I think actually it was my connection that cut out. So I did miss part of that, but I think what I'd like to emphasize, I mean, you've raised a really important point, George, about the link and the interaction between the technical representatives and the higher level ministry officials. I think one thing that we would hope also through this course would be that it also provides you with, you know, an opportunity to kind of test out and to try your hand at, you know, justifying and backing up the different things that you see to be as priorities. So this is also something that we're going to discuss in the coming days, and that you'll really have an opportunity to look at in more detail and to gain maybe a better understanding of. if you do have something that you feel should be a priority or direction, how to actually argue your point and bring that forward. So I think that's a really key element, and we'll definitely be looking at that in more detail. Were there any other questions before we move ahead? Or of course, comments if anyone else would like to jump in.
Okay, Talia, I
Okay.
suggest we
move ahead. Okay.
we move
Yeah,
ahead.
thanks. Of
Sorry,
course.
we are
Thanks
a
so
little
much.
bit
No,
short of time.
absolutely. That's great. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thanks a lot, Talia, and thanks everyone. And I think we will get into more details over the next days together on that. So I'm pressing a little bit the speed because we have still a few slides to go to, and we would like also to spend some time with you on your assignment. So sorry about that. Do you see my screen?
Yes, Dan.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So now we will turn to the presentation of tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session is going to be a very specific session. It will be a follow-up session from today. The idea tomorrow is to have all the group, so both all Vinderland group working on TVET and group working on senior secondary school to mingle and together as a team to fine-tune the targets of the simulation model and actually of your plan. Why do we do that? The idea really is for you to understand this issue of trade-off, of negotiation, and also of as also Talia has just mentioned, where you want to promote a policy, and you will need also to how do you make sure that what you want to do is been done given all the constraints, but also all the conflicting interests. And you have mentioned that, George. You have the politician on one side, the technical people on the other side. So the simulation model and the discussion around it is an interesting tool to come up somehow to some consensus. So in order to do that, we are proposing you to, so let me open that. We are, oops. Yeah, it's coming. So for tomorrow's session, you will be assigned a role. So together we are 18 people, 9 from TVET, 9 from secondary, upper secondary. We will assign you with a specific role. And here are the roles that we are proposing. For instance, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, the Director of TVET, the Director of General Education, the Director of School Feeding Division, the Director of School Construction Unit for TVET, the Director of School Construction Unit for Secondary, the Director of Cash Transfer and Subsidies, the Director of Inclusive Education, the Director, we will have two Director of, two representatives for Inclusive Education. We will have also 2 representatives from girls' education NGOs. We have also a representative for TLM and curriculum for TVET, the same for secondary. We have a teacher training department head for TVET and secondary. And then we have the head of the teacher union and the director of school inspection. You will see on the platform, there is a specific role attached to each, and each one will have to defend their program, their policy priorities, what is already in the plan, but sometimes it might not be in the plan. And if it's not in the plan, your role will be to negotiate and make sure that certain aspects you think are important vis-a-vis your role are fully reflected in the plan. This means that over the next days, by following this discussion, what is right now in your priority program will change. You will need to update. So what we would like to do now actually is for you, now together we're going to appoint people or to decide who will be doing what. We need to, within the next 10 minutes, we need to have to fill this form. So, for instance, as far the Minister of Education and the Minister of Finance and Director of TVET and Director of General Education, we are proposing that the coordinator have those roles. So, for instance, the Minister of Education could be from my group, either Agustin or George. Then the Minister of Finance could be from Talia's group, either. So Talia, can you remind me who are your heads?
Absolutely. So we have Amina and Milton.
So
from
could be one of those.
Groups.
Then
Absolutely.
the Director of TVET could be, again, Amina or Milton, and the Director of Secondary Education could be Agustin or George. That's a proposition just to make things easy from our end, and because those colleagues have already played a certain coordination role in their own group. For instance, well, as far as the Ministry of Education is concerned, the idea really is about to come up with a plan that is doable and that is doable. The Ministry of Finance will remind the Ministry of Education about getting, a gap that is sustainable. So the role of the Ministry of Finance will be really to look at the cost and really say, oh, this is too demanding. You might want to downsize what you want to do. The Director of TVET will pledge for his sector as a whole, while the Director of General Secondary will pledge for his sector, etc., etc. So school construction, it's about constructing schools that are fully, fully furnished with the state-of-the-art equipment and with adequate standards. So we are pushing a little bit the persona, what we call personas, to the extreme, so that it's room for discussion with you. And at some point, you will need to come to some agreement, to something that perhaps is not perfect, but is doable and that satisfies everyone. So do you understand the logic of what we will be trying to do tomorrow all together? And if yes, so I'll let you reflect. We will start putting names. So do you understand what we will be doing tomorrow together? If it's unclear, we are here to make it clear. No questions? No?
I just ask for you to just make a simple explanation so that I have not got it clearly. So I may need to.
What did you not get? Yeah, what is not clear, George, for instance?
Yeah, when you talk about our roles.
Okay.
And what we are going to do in the groups and representing, yes.
So tomorrow we will meet again, the whole group, 18 of us,
yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And we will assign each of you a role. Okay. That's reality. That's reality. That's how it goes. We go through in life, in real ESP development. We sit up with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, and all the directors to discuss the targets and to come up with a final simulation model with targets that are agreed with all the directorates. But ultimately, it is the Ministry of Education who is taking the final decision where to do the trade-off. This is an exercise for you to be able to practice a little bit what is negotiating and trade-offs, to understand what is the role of a simulation model, what is his used, and how do we use it to come up with a final decision, final decisions. I think the role, perhaps, Talia, can you upload the assignment for tomorrow? There are the roles and responsibilities at the end. Do you have that quickly over? Let me see.
Yeah, I've put the chat. I've put the chat in the chat, the Google Doc link. Okay, I think that maybe it would be helpful for you to see. Yeah, if you see all together these different. This is where you'll sign up for the roles and responsibilities. But I can also grab the full instructions. But at least there you'll kind of see this overview of how there are different roles and responsibilities. And then just 1 second, I'll grab the.
No, I think it's enough to have the roles and responsibilities. I think they will
Okay.
get it. In any
Great.
case, colleagues, it is on the, so let me open the chat. In any case, it is on the platform, but let's see the roles. No, this is not enough. I wonder, yeah, so we need indeed. You're
Yeah,
right, Talia.
I'll get
we need
the full instructions.
yeah, because in the full instruction, you have a specific, the detail of each role. So what will be the role of the Ministry of Education? What will be the role of the Ministry of Finance? What will be the role of the NGO dealing with girls' education? What will be the role of the Director of Inclusiveness, etc., etc.? I didn't get the last point. Which last point, Mustafa? Oh, you lost connection. Please mention details, Kazi. We will show you the details right now. I think Talia is trying to retrieve the document. But don't worry, it's not difficult. It's just for you to put yourself in the shoe of a persona. We will give you the role. We will assign you with roles. You need to look at this role today and think vis-a-vis your plan and what you want to achieve vis-a-vis your role as head of teacher training, the chief of the union, head of TVET, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, what you want to achieve. And tomorrow it's a discussion. And tomorrow we will give each of you 2 to 5 minutes to explain your argumentation. And we will have the Ministry of Education that will be playing a kind of coordination role and come up with a consensus. Talia, can you just go at the end after the table? So in any case, so here are the roles. For instance, I'm just reading a few of them. We don't need to go into all of them, or perhaps we need, but I'm a little bit scared with the time because we're already overpassing. So for instance, the Director of Education. Let's look at that, Talia. You may want, perhaps Talia, do you want to comment a little bit on certain functions so that colleagues get a clear idea?
Sure, absolutely. Not a problem. I mean, so the idea, just to give you a sense, I mean, and again, this is available on the platform. I can also put the link, the direct link to where I found this on the platform so that you can, you know, look at it in a little bit more detail, maybe before you decide exactly what you'd like to do. And we did try to make it, you know, step by step so that you have a sense of, okay, what are the different profiles? Who do I maybe align with, or, you know, what type of position would I like to defend? So there is some flexibility. Again, we have noted that the coordinator should take on certain roles, but beyond that, you're welcome to choose what aligns best with you. So you can read through the steps, and then you'll take a look. So here's an overview of the roles to give you a sense
Talia,
of,
sorry,
you know, all
George
of the
is
different...
asking if you can make it bigger. Can you make it bigger?
Of course. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's always helpful. Is that, I'm not sure how to make that part go.
Yeah, you go to the 100%.
Is it better now?
Perfect.
Yeah, we're 1 to 5 now. So hopefully that's okay.
No, put 150.
So here we have this overview. 150? Oops, sorry. Okay. So here we have a sense of, you know, all of the different actors who are going to be involved.
Sorry, Talia, you make it big, you make it. Okay, that's good.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're seeing. I mean, on my screen, it looks okay, but should I go down less large?
No, it's perfect. Don't touch anything. It's perfect now.
Okay, I'm going to stick to this. And yes, as Deanne suggested, just explain a couple of these different roles. So we really have tried to give you a sense, if you take on a given role, what sort of elements you should be keeping in mind. So let's take a look, just starting off with the Minister of Education. So your role is to listen to all of the arguments made by the various directors and coordinate the final decision about what targets will be set for the plan. So this is very much what George had mentioned about, you know, okay, then you have the minister who's making ultimately the decisions, and then the technical people or other representatives who are bringing up the areas that they think are most important. So again, you want to come up with the best possible scenario that will vastly improve both access and quality, but will not leave too large of a funding gap. You hope this next education sector plan will help cement your legacy as minister. So that kind of gives you a sense of the person's motivations, or the role, the motivations of the role, and what you would bring to this role play exercise. Again, I mean, the Minister of Finance. So of course, this is someone who is very much paying attention to the financial elements. So they're trying to limit expenses as much as possible. And trying to ensure that the funding gap remains minimal. So then we have the Director of TVET. And this is interesting because you start to see people who are really coming from, one particular subsector with their own perspective. So again, really concerned with ensuring that TVET enrollment and promotion rates improve, that repetition and dropout rates decrease drastically over the plan period. So you're really pushing for TVET to have as big of a place as possible. And then I'll go through these kind of briefly, but then again, you'll see people with specific interests coming into the discussion. So directors of the school feeding division, they're really focused on trying to advocate for school feeding programs. Directors of school construction units who feel like perhaps funding has been too limited for too long, and you're really looking forward to this education sector plan to make your case and to show that school construction is absolutely vital. And again, inclusive education coming with that perspective. NGOs, so we do also have some representatives from outside the ministry, for example, here really focusing on equitable education. And again, we've tried to really make these personas into just that. They all have their own interests and their sort of approach, their perspective. And again, it's a role play, so you're also welcome to, bring in some of your own elements as well. So we've gone through each of these roles. So when you sign up, you'll choose. And then you'll say, okay, so I'm a director of teaching and learning materials and the curriculum unit. So then you would go down and see, okay, what am I fighting for? What do I strongly believe? And so then this kind of gives you a little bit of guidance about the perspective that you're going to take and the persona that you're going to bring to the discussion tomorrow. So I don't know if there are any more specific questions about that. I hope that's helpful. And again, I will stop sharing my screen and right away share the link to the platform. Again, well, I can show you very quickly. This is the platform page for you to get more information. And here it's just the instructions about the section. I just clicked here and it automatically downloads the document. Again, if you haven't already registered, please do so. And then here we also, we do have a Google Docs document if you have any questions. But in any case, that's for tomorrow. If you, I'll put this link so that you're able to access this immediately. But I wondered, were there any questions? I hope that helped to clarify. Yeah, go ahead, Milton. Thanks.
I just want to remind you, I don't know if you saw the email that I sent, but I'm going to be traveling for work tomorrow morning, and I may only be able to be in the session for maybe part of it.
Yes, thanks so much, Milton. And I advised our sort of little organization team. And that's why we had thought, and I don't want to impose a position on you, but this was why we had discussed and thought that maybe you could be the Minister of Finance. And again, I mean, it's understood not everyone is able to be available for every session. And thank you so much for also, informing us when you're unable to be available. It's much appreciated so we can plan accordingly. But in any case, we have reflected on that and we'll assign a role accordingly.
No problem.
Thanks so much.
I wanted to know, do you see my screen? Because now we are putting,
yes.
Do you see the screen with the, okay. So Milton, Milton, you agree to do the Minister of Finance? Can I just put your name?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. What about Minister of Education? Between, so we are a little bit prescriptive because, in order also to move on and spend less time on this. So Minister of Education, it will be, so either George or Augustine, and one of you will be the Director of General Secondary. So could you tell us what will be your preference, George and Augustine?
I will be the Minister of Education.
Okay, George. So Augustine, you okay to be the Director of General Education?
Yes, fine with any
Okay.
position.
That's fair. Okay, what about the others, please? Can you, Amina, you will be then, okay, great.
That was actually me who just put Amina in. I'm
That's
sorry
good.
for
Thanks. No,
volunteering
very
you,
good.
Amina. I hope that's okay.
Okay, who wants to be the director? So there are many positions. So perhaps either you may want to voice yourself directly and put your name.
Yeah,
Gloria.
Gloria, yeah, I want the Director of Feeding Division.
Okay, perfect. Gloria, thanks. Who would like to be the Director of School Construction?
I prefer for
For
the curriculum.
TVET, we need TVET people. In TVET group. Okay, Kazi, what do you want to be, Kazi? I'm going to appoint people like that. Kazi, what would you like to be?
Teaching learning materials and curriculum, please.
Okay, you want TLM and curriculum? Very good. Okay, okay. Perhaps Talia, give me names and we put that because I don't see the names. Sorry, we're going to be very.
I do wonder though, if you have any preferences, colleagues, you're
go
welcome
ahead.
to jump in.
Yeah.
Just in case you do. If not, we're
Talia,
happy to assign you. Yeah.
Talia and Diane, this is Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Will be glad to take Director for Teacher Training and Development.
Okay, for TVET, right, Michael?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
And we have Christopher and Alberta. Are there any preferences that you'd like to come ahead with?
It's your chance to fight for what you want, what you believe.
I like to TLM and curriculum also.
You want TLM? Okay. Priyanti.
Yes.
Perfect. So Priyanti, you are the curriculum and TLM for secondary. Sorry, I put it wrongly here. No, sorry, Priyanti. Kazi is already there.
Yes,
you cannot take it.
Okay.
So which one would you like to be? You can have cash transfer, inclusive education, girls' education, school construction. You can also be the teacher union and school inspection.
Excuse me, I would like to teacher union.
Hold on. Yehan, let's finish with Priyanti, and then we go to you directly. Priyanti, which one would you like?
Teacher, not construction. I don't like construction.
You want to be the NGO? Do you want to be the NGO for girls? Could be.
It's okay. Okay.
That's good. I put you for. Okay, great. That's very good. So Yehan, what would you like to? Thanks, Priyanti. Yehan.
I would like to head of teacher union.
Teacher union. Okay, great. Yeah, that's okay, great. Who else?
I'm Roshini. Who is here with us today who hasn't signed up?
So Roshini.
I like inclusive education.
Okay, thanks, Roshini. We need another, perhaps from TVET group. Can we have a TVET group for inclusive education as well?
Of course. I see that Marie has just joined us. Marie, would you be interested in doing the TVET inclusive education work? Oh. I'm not sure if she's
or somebody else.
I'm just looking through who's here with us to see.
Marie has confirmed it. I think she's having internet connectivity.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much. Oh, the screen's a little bit too small. Deanne, we had just a point in the chat, maybe just to zoom in a bit.
Okay, it's here. Is it better?
Okay, hopefully that's better. It looks better to me.
So we have this, okay, who would like to be, we need a TVET and secondary person for school construction. Who would like to volunteer?
I'm wondering, Dan, if perhaps we don't have, I mean, I think we don't have everyone here. So I'm wondering, I think maybe what we need to confirm is whether all of the people who are here have a role.
Yeah, already, yeah,
and if they don't, then we can cross-check. Then
so
we can
Alberta,
cross-check and yeah.
Alberta, Maria, Yaman, we need your name. We need your position.
I'm here.
It's Alberta. Which one would you like to have?
Which between which ones? I don't like the construction.
Okay. Do you like inclusion? You have cash transfer. You have inclusion. You have girls. You want inclusion?
Girls, fine. Or inclusion. I like inclusion too.
Okay. So here it's Talia. Yeah, it's Alberta. Alberta will be inclusion.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We did also have someone in the chat at the same time saying that she would like between Alberta
Marie, can you voice
and
yourself?
Marie.
Put
She's
Alberta.
having trouble with her connection, from my
okay, so
understanding.
Alberta, if you don't have inclusion, would you like to have something else? For instance, TLM for TLM and curriculum, or would you like to have inspection, girls' education?
Hello?
Cash transfer? Alberta, yeah, man, let's discuss with Alberta first. Alberta, sorry, because it seems that Marie took already inclusion. Alberta, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes, so it seems that Marie...
I can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, it's girls' education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, girls' education for Alberta. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yaman, what do you want? Yaman, the floor is yours now. Oops, we lost him. Yeah, connection is not good today, I think.
Curriculum.
You want curriculum?
Hello?
You want
Hello?
the curriculum is already taken, Yaman?
Yes. Ready?
Curriculum is already taken. You may want to have teacher training?
Okay. Okay, no problem. Teacher training.
You want that? Okay, so Yaman, great. So I think here, Talia, I think we have everyone who is here today, and then we will appoint.
Yeah.
So colleagues, we will appoint randomly the other colleagues to their to the different to the remaining positions. So the idea would be for you tonight to get accustomed with your role, and as Talia has mentioned, to really look at I mean, she has look back to the assignment and be prepared for tomorrow to play your role, okay? Because tomorrow we will consolidate the different simulation model from all groups. So we will TVET secondary in one big file that we will put online, and tomorrow we start initiating the discussion. So you will be given some time to defend your position, and ultimately the minister will also kind of provide room for negotiation, and as well as the director of finance, general education, and TVET. You know, so the TVET will make sure that more money or more activities are being conducted under this this subsector, while the general secondary, the director of general secondary will really push for, I would say, a big push for general secondary as well. If that is clear, we will turn to the next session, which is to just a little bit. Do you see my screen or not? No, perhaps you don't.
Not yet.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sharing
Not yet.
actually. Yeah, sorry. Where it is? It's here. We would like to go with you again on to the assignment, because you have another assignment. So this week is a little bit hectic for you, because indeed you have to work on the simulation model and you have to do a quiz as well. So the quiz, it's a quiz for Unit 2, which is, so it's related to the use of a simulation model. This quiz, as you will see, is in two parts. Part 1 relates to putting some targets on an Excel file. So you have a series of questions for you to fill, and then you will need to submit that part 1 by Sunday midnight. You have 3 days to complete that work. We will open it tomorrow, and you have until Sunday to complete. Then once the deadline is passed, you cannot submit them anymore. So be careful, because we will provide the solution of that part 1 so that you can complete part 2. That's why if you have not submitted the work by Sunday, you will not be able to take the test again. Then on Monday, we open part 2, and you have 3 days to do part 2. So we will provide you with the correction of the simulation model, and you will need just to fill. There are a series of questions on how to read the simulation model, and you just need to put the right information on the quizzes. The quiz is already made, so on each question, you fill the question that will be, I don't know how to explain that, but there is this question on the platform, and you just need to respond looking at the Excel file that we will provide you with on Monday. Part 1 is out of 6, part 2 is out of 14. Part 1, there are 6 questions. Part 2, there are almost, close to 14 questions. So do not worry about. In any case, if you have questions, you can use WhatsApp, you can use the platform. We will be here to help you. These are individual work. It's not a collective work. It's part of your own grading. So please, we would appreciate you to do it individually. It's important. It's the only individual work you will do during this whole module. So we appreciate you keep it individual. You have 3 days to do it, so it's enough time for you to, we believe, to do that for each part. Okay. Then let's go to, just would like to finish quickly with, we would like to show you the template that you will, that you will be using next week. Not next week, this weekend, sorry. It's about the result matrix. So that's a template that each groups. So this, again, it's a group work, but as usual. So you have TVET quality, TVET access, each one fill their own priority program templates, result matrix. The same for secondary access, secondary TVET. So you will be back again in your own group to do that. Here again, it's easy. You take your priority program and you just copy and paste the right information at the right place. The only issue will be, can you unmute everyone, Talia, please?
Yeah, I have. We're not seeing the template. I don't know if you're trying to show the template, Diane, but we're still seeing the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, now you should see the template, I think. Let me put it bigger. So we have devised a template, and really we would advise you to follow the presentation that Talias has done this morning so that you see how to fill that. It's not difficult. It's just taking your priority program, put each information from the priority program at the right place and with the right formulation. For instance, the only formulation that will change is the one related to output. You will shift from activities to output, and you will see, as it was shown in the presentation, that you will need to use a past tense. Again, results should be active, not so much, but they have a verb at the past tense in order to highlight the fact that we have achieved the results. It's really, with like perspective, like we are achieving this result. That's why it's a past tense. You will need to add the corresponding indicator that you already have highlighted in your priority program, putting the baseline, the intermediary targets, and the end value. Again, specifying the source of verification and the responsibility officer, or I would say unit, but it's more a unit at this stage, or officer, does not matter to what detail you want to go. certain of the targets and the intermediary targets you will take from the simulation model. So, but this, as you will see, that as you are fine-tuning the targets of your simulation model, you will need to revise your result matrix template, so this template, as well as your priority program. So you see, it's an interactive, now it's very interactive. As long as you have not stabilized your simulation model, you will not be able to fully complete or finalize your result matrix, as well as your priority program. So every time once the simulation model targets will be fully finalized, could be this weekend or over next weekend, you will, until it is finalized, you cannot finalize that, but you can already shape it. The only thing you will change are the values of intermediary targets and the target value. Okay. This should be simple assignment. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let me just.
Not hectic.
It's a hectic moment for you.
Yeah,
This weekend will be hectic. You're not going to rest. I hope you're not planning to do some social event.
No, we can't do a social event in place of this. We shall try our best.
Yes, this week will be hectic. And I like the proposition that Augustine, you had proposed for your group to have a Zoom meeting. I would really strongly advise if perhaps, Augustine, you can help support a whole group Zoom meeting again this weekend, for you to work at least on the simulation model. Also, it will be an e-version. We will share with you tomorrow a consolidated e-version of the simulation model, but it is that version that you will need to work on in the next few days in order to fine-tune your own result matrix. You will see even next week the multi-year operation plan and the priority program. But don't worry, it's a step-by-step. We are just putting deadline so that we can track your work. Right now, we are not scoring, okay? So do not worry. Let me just show you a final screen, which is for what we are expecting from you in the days to come. Talia, I think Amaranta put something in the chat. Can you respond to her that we need 5 minutes and we will split into groups?
It's okay, Diane. Don't worry. I'm still here.
Oh, you're here.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, so just one more slide to go through with the team. Let me put that in mode like that. So what we're expecting, and it's true, it's going to be hectic, but do not worry. You do what you can. So we're going to share with you tomorrow morning the consolidated simulation model for both groups, so all Vindoland, for secondary and TVET. We will work on it tomorrow together, you with your specific role. We assume that you will need to continue working on it over the weekend. It might not be even finished this weekend. We understand that, so do not worry. It might even take whole next week or even the next 10 days to come up with a finalized simulation model. But this should not prevent you for completing the assignment on result matrix, because right now we know that you will not have definite outputs and indicators, but already with what you have in your priority program, you can start filling the result matrix. So we would like you to submit that work by Sunday. Also, I mean, we say midnight -1, so that we can review it on Monday, and we'll discuss that next Tuesday. Then you need to complete quiz 2, part 1 by Sunday night and part 2 by Wednesday night. So that's the assignment of this week. It's going to be hectic, but do not worry again. The quiz, they are going to be scored. So be careful before you submit, you take time. We advise you to really take time to manipulate also the simulation model on the window case study, because the quiz part 1 is about putting targets. So the more you are comfortable with putting targets, the better you will succeed with the quiz. Okay, so, and then part 2 is about reading a simulation model. So again, the activity on window model will be very helpful for you. Any question before we break up into our regular groups? So me with my group on secondary, and Talia and Fadi with the group on TVET. Would you like to have to share a final comment before we break up into rooms? And we will go in, I have a meeting at 1, so it means we're going just to have half an hour, but I will guide you through the assignment. Sorry for that, I cannot, yeah. Can we break up, colleagues? Yes?
Yes, let's break up.
Okay, let's break up because we have half an hour.
I'm opening the rooms now, and you can just choose your group and click on join.
So we are group 1, right? So colleagues, group 1 for secondary, group 2 for TVET.
Okay, so, breakout rooms are open now. Hi, Jeongju, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.